How many times have you sat down, ready to finally start, and then just didn't? You told yourself you were tired. You told yourself tomorrow is better. You told yourself you just needed a little more time. But deep down, somewhere you don't like to look, you knew the truth. It wasn't about being tired. It wasn't about time. It was fear, a very specific kind of fear. Not the fear of failing, something much quieter, much deeper. The fear of actually succeeding. The fear of becoming someone you don't recognize, someone new, someone who can't go back. This is the story of a young man named Aryan. And honestly, it might be your story too. Aryan was 24 years old. Smart guy, everyone said so. His teachers said so, his parents said so, even he believed it, once. He had a notebook full of ideas, business plans, study schedules, fitness goals, creative projects, page after page of things he was going to do. But the notebook was always full, and his life was always empty. He'd wake up every morning with good intentions. He'd open his laptop, he'd make tea, he'd sit down, and then nothing. An hour of scrolling, 2 hours of YouTube, a nap, some food, evening, night, sleep. Then the guilt. That quiet, heavy guilt that sits on your chest when you know you wasted another day. He'd look in the mirror before bed and think, tomorrow I'll be different. But tomorrow always looked exactly like today. People around him started moving. Friends got jobs, got married, built things, and Aryan stood still, watching from a distance, convincing himself he was just waiting for the right moment. One evening, his younger sister, barely 19, sat down next to him. She had just registered for her first online course. She was excited, eyes bright. She said, "Bye, you should do this with me. You always talk about this stuff. Let's actually do it." And Aryan smiled, said yes, of course. He never opened the link. 2 months later, his sister finished the course, got a small freelance project, earned her first money. She didn't say anything to Aryan. She didn't have to. That silence was louder than any lecture. That night, Aryan couldn't sleep. He kept asking himself, why? Why can't I just do it? He wasn't stupid. He wasn't sick. He had a phone, internet, time, energy. What was stopping him? He opened his old notebook, flipped through the pages, plans from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Same dreams, zero action. And for the first time, he didn't feel lazy. He felt scared. The next morning, he went for a walk, something he hadn't done in months. He ended up at a small park near his old school. There was an old man there, sitting on a bench feeding pigeons, calm, unbothered, like time had no power over him. Aryan sat nearby. He didn't know why, he just didn't want to go home yet. After a while, the old man spoke, without even looking at him. "You know why most birds never leave the cage even when the door is open?" Aryan looked at him, confused. The old man continued, "Because inside the cage, they know exactly who they are. Outside, they don't know what they might become. And that is terrifying." Aryan said nothing. The old man finally looked at him, smiled gently, and said only this, "The cage isn't your laziness, son. The cage is your identity. You're protecting who you are right now because you're afraid of who you'd have to become if you actually tried." He walked up, folded his newspaper, and walked away. Just like that. No big speech, no life advice. Just one quiet truth, dropped like a stone into still water. And it rippled. Aryan sat on that bench for a long time. He thought about every time he had stopped himself, every excuse, every tomorrow. And he realized it was never about motivation, it was never about discipline, it was never even about time. It was about identity. He had spent years building an image of himself in his mind, the smart guy who could do things but just hadn't yet, the guy with potential. Because potential is safe. Potential has no failure, no judgment, no risk. But the moment you actually try, that image cracks. You might fail. You might discover you're not as good as you thought. You might have to face the real you. And that is what Aryan was truly afraid of. Not failing, not judgment from others, losing the comfortable story he had been telling himself. He walked home slowly, but something felt different. Not fixed, not suddenly motivated, just honest. He opened his laptop. No music, no tea, no perfect setup. He just began. Here's what this story is really about. Laziness is often just fear wearing a comfortable mask. When you keep postponing the one thing that matters most to you, it's rarely because you don't care. It's because you care too much. So much that starting it feels dangerous. Because starting means risking, and risking means the story could go wrong. But here's the truth no one tells you. The version of you that keeps waiting, that version is already disappearing. Every day you don't begin, you drift a little further from who you were meant to be. The cage isn't made of iron, it's made of thoughts, old beliefs, a fixed identity you've been holding on to long past its time. You don't need motivation. You don't need the perfect moment. You just need the courage to not know who you'll become and start anyway. Aryan didn't change overnight. Nobody does. But that morning, something small and important shifted inside him. He stopped protecting the old version of himself. He let himself be a beginner, imperfect, unsure, but moving. And slowly, day by day, the person he was afraid to become started to appear. Not perfect, but real. Not comfortable, but alive. So, if you're sitting somewhere right now with dreams in your head and excuses on your tongue, maybe it's time to ask yourself the question Aryan finally asked. Am I actually lazy, or am I just afraid of who I might become if I stop holding back? Think about it. If this story touched something in you, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe.